Last week, it finally happened. I finally got a 10-win pick week, and it took 5 weeks. And this is still my worst start to NFL predictions in the history of this channel. So that just goes to prove how good I have been in the past with NFL predictions. But this season, I'm hoping that I have another 10-win pick week. And if I do, I think it just goes to show that I needed some time to adapt to how this season was going to go. And week 5 was filled with excitement, thrilling finishes, close games, controversy. And not only I think we're in for more excitement and more controversy this week, but throughout the rest of the season. And I'm really looking forward to it. So without further ado, let's get to the Week 6 NFL predictions. And as always, we begin with Thursday Night Football. And you have got to be kidding me, the Commanders and the Bears. I can't believe I have to pick somebody to win this game. As much as I want this to be a 0-0 draw, it's not going to happen. Somebody, unfortunately, has to win this game. And I'm solely going to go with the team that I have been impressed with the most so far this season, and that is the Bears. The Bears have a couple wins this season. The Commanders, they're on a losing streak. Brian Robinson Jr. is back for the Commanders. He outsnapped Antonio Gibson, and I really want to see him have a strong season after what that young man has been through. But I'm going to ultimately pick the Bears simply because I've been impressed with them the most this season so far, and it's literally a pick 'em right now. Moving on to the 49ers and the Falcons. The Falcons lost very controversially last week. They were in the game against Tampa Bay from start to finish, but a very controversial roughing the passer call. It ended Atlanta's hopes of a come from behind win and an upset win. And now they go against a 49ers team that Jimmy Garoppolo has them on the right track. And as long as Jimmy Garoppolo is playing well, as long as the defense is playing well, the 49ers, they are a threat to win the NFC. And sometimes this game, when these two teams go against each other, it is close. I think the fact that the Falcons have put in a strong effort so far this season, I think we're in for a close game again. But I still think the 49ers, they come out on top. But I think Atlanta will once again be in the game from start to finish like they have been in every single game, with the exception of the Rams, where they had that furious comeback that fell just short. Next, we have the Patriots and the Browns. And I am going to go with the Patriots. We still don't know if Brian Hoyer will come back this week. Will Mac Jones be back this week? Or will they keep going with quarterback Bailey Zappi, the rookie out of Western Kentucky? And I don't know who the quarterback will be in this one. I don't think it matters. I think the Patriots are going to win this game and pull off the upset. And I'm looking at Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson did well last week. He did well against the Browns last year, and I expect him to do well against Cleveland once again this season. I think the Patriots upset the Browns. The Browns suffer another loss. This game's going to come down to simply who I think can run the football the best. And even though the Browns, they have one of, if not maybe the best 1-2 running back tandem in the NFL, the Patriots defense, it's still the Patriots defense. So I'm going New England. Next up, we have the Jets and the Packers. The Jets picked up a dominant win last week against the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins were down to quarterback 3 and Skylar Thompson out of Kansas State, the rookie, while the Packers, they lost to the Giants in London. And I think this is going to be a very tough game for the Packers to really bounce back from. We have yet to see the Packers. We've yet to see them dominate in a game. They haven't dominated anybody all season. And I expect no different here. I think the Packers win, but the Jets, they are going to push the Packers in this game, I think. But the Packers still win. They are in Lambeau. Aaron Rodgers is comfortable in Lambeau, puts up great numbers in Lambeau. They'll win, but the Jets, they are going to push them in this one. Next up, we have the Jaguars and the Colts. The Colts are coming off of a very, very miserable Thursday night win against the Broncos, while the Jaguars, they lost to the Texans in a very defensive type of game. And I'm going to go with the Colts, even though the Jaguars, they beat the Colts a few weeks ago. I just think with the Colts having some extra rest by playing on Thursday night, Jonathan Taylor might be back this week. Nyheim Hines is questionable. So what will things look like in the Colts backfield? That is the question. But I think either way the Colts will win this one. I think it's going to be, at the very worst, another defensive-heavy game, a low-scoring game, but the Colts win. Next, we have the Vikings and the Dolphins. And these last 2 weeks, Justin Jefferson has put on a show. I've talked a couple of times about how underrated this Dolphins defense is. And if they can contain Justin Jefferson, the Dolphins have a really good chance to pull off the upset. But there's just question marks at the quarterback position right now. Is Tua going to be back this week? Teddy Bridgewater left the game early last week with a head injury. So will Skylar Thompson, the rookie out of Kansas State, be under center for the Dolphins? I think the Vikings win, but depending on who the quarterback is in this game, I think it could be very close. Next, we have the Bengals and the Saints. The Saints finally got back on the winning track against the Seahawks behind a dominant performance by Taysom Hill, stealing goal line touches from Alvin Kamara, stealing rushing touchdowns from him. While the Bengals, a heartbreaking loss on Sunday Night Football to the Ravens on a game-winning field goal by Justin Tucker as time expired. You just knew that once the Ravens were lining up for that game-winning field goal, you just knew that it was going to be good. And the Bengals had it lost. And I've seen Bengals fans frustrated with Zach Taylor's play calling. There's even a picture that got leaked of Joe Burrow being pictured waiting for Zach Taylor to end his talks with the media. He did not look very happy, and you can tell Joe Burrow is just exhausted with Zach Taylor's play calling. And I'm going to go with the Saints. Even though there are some unknowns with the Saints right now, Alvin Kamara looked great last week. Taysom Hill looked great last week. I don't see why the Saints just don't put Taysom Hill at quarterback if Jameis Winston is not going to return this week. But I am going with the Saints. Will Michael Thomas be back this week, as he has missed the last couple of weeks with a toe injury? Chris Olave left the game early last week, so a lot of injury concerns and question marks for the Saints, but I still think they get it done. Next up, we got the Ravens and the Giants. The Giants are 4-1. I did not expect that at the beginning of the year. I don't think anybody else did, except for maybe Giants fans themselves. While the Ravens, they got the win last week off a game-winning field goal by Justin Tucker. But now they go on the road to take on a Giants team that has had a good season so far, but I do think the Giants, it is back to reality for them. I think the Ravens dominate this game. Lamar has a big performance, 4 total touchdowns at least, and the Ravens pick up the win. Next, we have Tampa Bay and the Steelers. So Bucks, Steelers now. And poor Kenny Pickett. His first 2 starts in the NFL are against 2 of the top 3 teams in the NFL. In fact, you can argue maybe the top 2 teams in the league. And how are the Steelers going to stay in this game? As TJ Watt is still inactive. They got pounced by the Bills last week. Their defense really disappointed. And Tom Brady he's picking up momentum after these last 2 weeks. He's put up good numbers the last couple of games, and now he goes up against a Steelers team that, even though they have 9-10 wins a year consistently, they're struggling at this point. And I'm having Tom Brady dominating this game, probably 4 touchdowns, maybe 2 to Evans, 1 to Godwin. Leonard Fournette has even picked it up in these last couple of weeks. So the Buccaneers offense, it was only a matter of time until they started clicking these last 2 weeks. They've been a testament to that. Moving on to the later afternoon games, the Cardinals and the Seahawks. The Cardinals fell just short of pulling off an upset against the Eagles last week, the lone remaining undefeated team in the league. The Seahawks, they were in a shootout against the Saints last week. And I think this is going to be very high scoring. I would not be surprised if this was the game that was the highest scoring game of the week. And that is saying something, considering we have the Bills and Chiefs to talk about in just a moment. I just think that both these defenses are very weak. The Seahawks, they've proved that. They're a weak defense. And even though the Cardinals only allowed 20 points to the Eagles last week, they're going on the road to the 12th man. And I'm picking the Seahawks to upset the Cardinals. As the Cardinals, they're an up and down team. I don't know what to expect out of them. One week, they're terrible. The next week, they're making a big comeback in overtime against the Raiders. The next week, they're terrible. And then the next week, they pull off a big win. So the Cardinals, they are a night and day team. And I'm going to go with the Seahawks. Next up, we have the Panthers and the Rams. And if you're a fan of the Rams, or if you're on the Rams, you are excited that this is your matchup this week. The Panthers are completely dysfunctional. They just fired their head coach in Matt Rule. And I believe they fired their defensive coordinator as well. And they have no idea who their quarterback's going to be. Sam Darnold's not even close to being ready. Baker Mayfield's expected to miss the next several weeks. Matt Corral is on season-ending IR, and he has been since the preseason. So, XFL quarterback P.J. Walker is the projected starting quarterback for the Panthers. And if the Rams struggle in this game against the Panthers, then it's definitely time to start hitting the panic button. Because if they struggle against the Panthers, a team that has just fired their coach, fired their defensive coordinator, are suiting up an XFL quarterback, I just don't know what to do or what the Rams can do. So the Rams, I'm having them winning this game, and they should and better win this game. Next up, we have what is probably the game of the week, without a doubt. The Bills and the Chiefs. And more often than not, when we see these two teams square off, it's a battle. It's always a game that has a lot of hype. And I am going to say that there may not be as many points scored in this game as we hope. What we want in this game is a very high-scoring game. But I just don't see that. I think we're going to be in for a middle-of-the-road type of scoring, probably 27-23. I know we want, when these two teams face off, to be in the high 40s, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Chiefs win this one. I think they win in the neighborhood of 27-23. But it should be a good ball game, and it honestly better be a good ball game, considering that these are two of the best quarterbacks in the league, and if it's a disappointing game, then it makes you question who's really good and who isn't. Sunday Night Football, the Cowboys and the Eagles. Cooper Rush is 5-0 as a starting quarterback in the NFL, including 4-0 this season. The Cowboys have gone on a 4-game winning streak since losing Dak Prescott with a thumb injury. And it's unknown if he is going to be the starter on Sunday night, or if they're going to stick with Cooper Rush. Now, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But If Dak came back this week, it would be huge for the Cowboys, despite Cooper Rush leading them to a 4-game winning streak. As the Cowboys, they've been running the ball a lot more. In fact, that is what they wanted. That's what we were told during the game against the Rams. They were wanting to run the ball more. And the fact that Dak got injured, they really had no other choice but to run the football more. But this Eagles team is the lone remaining undefeated team in the NFL. They narrowly escaped against the Cardinals last week, but survive and advance. But I'm going to go with the Eagles to win this game. I expect this to be a defensive battle. I'm expecting low scoring. I'm expecting it to be 20-17 with the Eagles coming out on top. Because the Cowboys defense, it is still a good defense, maybe one of the best in the league. But if Cooper Rush is a starting quarterback, I don't know if he can put up enough points to beat this Eagles team. Plus, the Eagles are a very strong team at home, and especially in prime time. It's a very intimidating place to play at night. But I'm going with Philadelphia to keep their undefeated season alive. And finally, Monday Night Football, the Broncos and the Chargers. Oh, great. The Broncos in primetime again. I'm just going to go with the Chargers because the Broncos are always terrible in primetime. Simply for that. And that will do it for my Week 6 NFL predictions. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, have a good day and enjoy the NFL this weekend.